Body boat. Body boat. Come, my friend. Oh, let's admit my boy. Okay, try sit comfortably. There we go. There we go. Buddy! How are you, bud? Can you hear me? You are now muted on my side, from what I can see here. The picture is perfect, except that. Oh, I'm wondering now whether the issue perhaps. Okay, you are muted on my side. You've got a mute sign here. I'm not sure whether I can actually. Let's try this. Wait.
How's that?
That's more like it. That's more like it. What's up, but how are you?
Okay, my guy. How's it keeping?
No, it's okay. It's okay, buddy. Let's sort this one out before the light behind your head, ne? When you move, it comes out on the.
I'm thinking. Let me just sit like this. What America? You must be aware that Liverpool is playing. Eh?
I am very much aware.
I have a problem.
I just switched it off now myself.
I have an issue. And they just missed the penalty, so I'm quite happy. What do I get? That means one eye. That's the dream. Just okay. Off. How's that?
That's more like it, but don't worry, don't worry. This will bring winnings for your team.
It has to, my guy.
It will bring winnings. You've been suffering, eh?
No, there's just a few minor losses. What? I can't complain. From each team's first, this is much better. I can handle. I can handle 1 and 2. I go Rich's play. Could I go Rich's play? Imagine.
You're making me laugh because I was thinking earlier on about someone who is an Arsenal fan and a Chiefs fan. I mean, that man is suffering through and through from all sides.
It's going through the most, and I've Tottenham.
Yeah,
one of those teams, you're just in trouble as a person.
Good tough, but no, man. Thank you for coming through, but truly appreciate having you over. I was wondering, are you using your phone?
Yeah.
Are you able to tilt it so that the view is like this way?
Landscape, as I told my wife.
Yes, that's the word that is failing me. That is perfect, but that's perfect. Okay. I know I have. Would like to welcome everyone who is joining us today to watch. As you probably can see on the screen, I've got one of the, how do I put this, one of the best individuals, if not best friend, in terms of having interacted and just the amount of impact where his views kind of shared on mine, smeared on mine, and ultimately changed some of mine. But it's basically someone whom I entered varsity in, how do I call it? I don't want to say hand in hand because we came from different places altogether, but we entered varsity at the same time pretty much. So it was quite a good exposure, just watching your power, learning, or rather getting to know the adult that is in them. So I'd like to thank Ngcebo for coming through. Thank you, Bats, for coming through.
It's a pleasure, but it's good to see you after a very long time, my guy.
Yes, man, it's been a while. We're glad that we are still remembered in that side. I think I have muted you there, but please unmute yourself. Thank you. So as a starter, perhaps if you can just, because what we're trying to speak about in this all this conversation is basically what inspires you, like what gives you that motivation to set plans, to like what gives you that hope that tomorrow is going to be a day where you can actually implement some of those plans? Why not just give up now? Like what makes you as an individual different from anybody else whom we have either met or even are still to meet? So that's what we're trying to speak to. And as such, as a starter, perhaps we're looking at the thing of principles, where most people have actually even devoted a lot of material in terms of studying and reading and even writing some books as well. But we're just trying to understand what are some of your key principles by which you live. If you can just flesh them out a bit, perhaps, and then we'll take it from there.
I feel like I should say thank you for the question, Kotrag.
Let's do it the political way.
Yeah, thank you for the interview. Thank you for the interview, Babumrika. It's a truly a pleasure and honor to be here. But I think as I was going through and thinking about your question, you would say, what are my principles and all of that? But I think at the core, one must realize what motivates them. Right?
Mhm.
Go by. I think your principles should be developed around the key issues in your life. So I think one of the key issues I've realized is family. I think
Mhm.
I remember making this point back in the day. You would see money in itself, its value is the people the money how you spend it and whom you spend it with, right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to my fundamental issues, it would be family, and my principles are based on would say how do I elevate and allow my family to grow, my priorities. It speaks to all of that, and even going further, as you know, as a Christian, we are taught all these key things on umdeni and how to see about it and how to
Mhm.
propagate it. And I think one of the core things as a man that motivates me, I would say, at least Pepeli, we will leave an inheritance for our children's children.
Mhm.
Right? So everything that one is doing must be then be propagated by would say, whatever I'm going to do, I'm not doing it for my children.
Come
I
on.
am raising parents for my grandchildren. So
Mhm.
I think those one of the things that is a real driving force to me. And in my house with my wife, with my parents, it is building something for the third generation, basically. I think
Mhm.
that is a key thing. And prioritizing, I'm trying not to go too deep with it. Got one.
Go if you want to.
It relationships are the core of my principles.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's the great motivator. It is how I make my decisions. And yeah, I don't know if that's really specific, but I think
That's perfect. That's perfectly fine.
that is my starting point for every decision I made.
Mhm.
When I came to Newcastle, I was really battling with why should I come back to Newcastle? And my
Mhm.
fundamental reason was my family is there, and regardless of how great I become, if I'm able to enjoy that greatness with the people who are closest and dearest to me, that's what really makes it worth it. And I think everything else flows on from
Come
there.
on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Awesome, man.
Mhm.
Looking at the number of things that you do, I know you're involved in the church back home. Got some work. You were married. How do you split your time, if I can put it that way? Like, how do you manage all the expectations that are on you, regardless of where they are from? Just like, how do you go about doing that?
No, Minamrika, one thing that I'm really key on is my priorities. And as I stated about the whole thing about family, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to anything else I do, I set priorities and I make it a point to say, regardless of what anybody else thinks, my priorities are straight. So when it comes to work, I know it's my family first. Luckily, when we are now married by the grace of God, and
Come
I'm
on,
very
man.
clear about that. I'm very whether I'm serving at church, whether I am working at work, I'm very clear. Uguti, I know Uguti. my family time comes first, and then everything else follows. And I think that what makes it difficult is we try and put everything on equal standing. We want to equally distribute your time and your energies, and you cannot please anybody. And rather know in your heart and what you are led by. Would say first things first, and then everything else follows. I mean, I believe one focuses on the majors. If the others fall away, man, the grace of God will carry it.
I
The
hear
grace of
you.
God will carry it.
I hear you, but keep the main thing the
Mm.
main thing.
Keep the main thing the main thing. John Maxwell said a long time ago, one of the videos I was watching, would say, write a list of the 10 most important things to you, right? And put it in an order that, in terms of value you have, and then
Okay.
only focus on the top two. Just focus, leave everything else and just focus on the top two. Everything else will fall into place. So that's my motto when it comes to time management, and especially when it comes to my energy as well. Now my energy is here at home, fundamentally. Yeah.
I hear you, but talk to me if we happen to just pull it sideways from the script there. You are a PK, and for those who may not know, a PK is a pastor's kid. It's a very deep term, I know. Talk to me, but about do you feel, or are you of the view that people treat you differently because you are a PK than say they would treat anybody else? Perhaps let's rephrase that question. Are there things that are expected of you that come because your dad is a pastor or your family is like involved in church, that you feel, or you're of the view that this is just tied to that particular factor, not necessarily coming through because of the relationships perhaps that people may have with you as an individual? What I'm trying to get at, perhaps in my attempt to rephrase, which I see is not actually rephrase, it's more to understand from that perspective, like how do you interact with the church in a way? Let's put it that way.
I think I want to, in terms of being a PK, and there's being a PK in terms of the broader society, there's being a PK within your church.
Okay.
In the broader society, I mean, I like to compare it to being a politician's son.
Okay.
Everybody knows you, right? Everybody knows you, and everybody has expectations. But the scary thing is about that is that generally it's not from the father, it's just everybody else just has this expectation. You would say you should be like this and this and this and that. Right?
Exactly.
So in that way, it's daunting, especially if our convictions work off what they don't necessarily line up with what is being preached. Then there are going to be a lot of issues, right? And then we must go back and say, when the man was dreaming alone, he was alone when he was dreaming at night, and the Lord spoke to him.
He left his family behind.
Yeah, we weren't there, and some of us weren't even born, so it is then. But if you are lucky enough to have the same convictions, it's a badge of honor. It's a cross to bear, but it's a cross that's not heavy, because you get to fulfill things that you already believe in, right? And in terms of the church itself, they have expectations. They will always have expectations, primarily because you need to be the example of what is being preached. Fundamentally, you need to be example. Would say how Inganyamfunis is doing what is being preached, and it's scary because when we are going to church, I needed help as much as you do.
Exactly.
So fundamentally, what the man is preaching, we both need it, right? And most likely, I needed more because I have to live with him as well, right? You need it. You come on Sunday and you go back home to whatever situation you have at home. Some they believe in it, some they don't. But you can pick and choose when you apply your convictions. I can't pick and choose. So I need to be who I am here and be the same thing at home.
The church.
And I need those preachings more because perhaps if I used to say to you, Dala, if a PK is not born in the church environment, you'd be some horrible person. He needs to hear it more and more and more because of the morals he has really need a need to be kept guard by the word of God. So I think it's that, and it can be heavy. In all honesty, when I spoke to the wife, I said a long time ago, it's like we all speak about Abraham going up to the mountain with Isaac, right? We preach about that. But can you imagine being Isaac and watching your father about to stab you? There's no revelation that we have on that.
It's dry. We're taking
I've
it from
heard no
Abraham.
sermon I've heard no sermon saying from your perspective, how did Isaac feel watching his father about to stab him? I've heard no sermon, and I think that's the fundamentals of being a PK. I am the lamb that's being not necessarily directly got
No, I
being
get you.
slaughtered because I need to be the picture of what the man is preaching.
Exactly. You need to maintain a certain level of.
And then everybody freaks out and wonders why the PK behave the way they do, is because Vela, how would you feel being there and watching your father?
The spotlight.
It's not. But God gave us the same convictions.
We're happy, buddy. I'm speaking from the perspective of having been around you, and I don't want to say your formative years because that might seem like I'm pushing it way back to primary. But when as an adult, your views were shaping up.
Yeah,
that's when we would have those type of conversations, some of which you are referring to now, from various concepts, from what it means to even love an individual. You once said something that has stuck with me, and I think it will be stuck with me for a very long time. We were speaking about love. We'll come back to these questions. We were speaking about what love is, and you said something like this: love is an act of faith, because at that point that you choose to commit, you are committing with a certain hope that this individual, one, won't change. Two, if they do change, that what they change into, it is something that I will still love. So those things, man, they bamboozle me hard sometimes because they come flashing back in certain moments and you're like, no, man, I've had this conversation.
Yeah, true. It's the things we speak about. I sometimes speak about them like I would say, to think of all those conversations we are having and how impactful they are today.
Come on.
Because if I remember correctly, we were talking about love and how you go about choosing your spouse. We would say there's so much faith involved, right? There's you are sure of nothing, right? The only thing you are sure of is what has happened.
Exactly.
That's the only thing, and you cannot be sure of what will happen in the future. So you go there believing, I trust what I have seen as a representation what will happen in the future. But again, I think, it's wonderful. I don't know whether I'm going on a bit too much, but
no, it's perfectly fine, buddy. It's perfectly fine, because the whole idea is always speaking to now as a certain individual, perhaps, who is sitting there and they're at this stage where they need to make a decision, is to say, okay, I'm getting married. Some people want to get married, but there's always that question that's like, what if this, what if that? And perhaps they're looking for certain much stronger reassurances than one can get before they make that call. So this is just as relevant for that somebody. So don't stress. Let's bring it back to perhaps I would imagine you've been around quite a lot of young people as well. And what we're looking at now is, what sort of advice would you give to someone who is much younger, say someone coming out of varsity, someone in their final years, call it, or even someone in their teens about to leave high school? We're trying to find, from your perspective, what are some of the key things that you think at that particular age are quite relevant for someone to kind of focus on in a way, or even have just in the back of their mind?
Okay. I think when I was looking at your question, the way you frame, what advice would I give myself?
Yeah, you can take it from that perspective as well.
I think in my teen years, I think the biggest thing what I've seen is dreaming. In your teen years, that is the fundamental, most important thing you can ever do. Have a dream that is so big that you know that you can never attain it, but dream it.
Come on.
Fundamentally, because you can only limit yourself if you dream small. But the only thing you can do if you dream a massive dream is pull yourself up. So in your teen and formative years, have a massive dream, something probably unattainable. Unless God steps in, have that kind of dream. Unless God steps in, it will not happen. A friend of mine used to say, aim for the stars. If you're lucky, you'd hit the moon. Have that kind of dream. Have a massive dream. But as you grow up, I think you need to start asking yourself, how can I add value? How can I add value to to the global society, my community, and my family? Because I think sometimes we push passion as if it's the end all and be all. I need to be passionate about something, right? As we're talking about soccer earlier on, I'm now passionate about football, right? But I am a supporter. The coach is passionate about football, but he is a coach. The players are all passionate about football, but they are playing. They are the only ones, except the coach and the players, they are the only ones making money. But we are all passionate. So passion cannot be the driving force behind your lifetime goals and visions and all of that. You need to be adding value. That is the fundamental thing. Which look for where can I add value? What solution can I provide? What's the problem? Which problem can I solve? I think as we grow up, we need to start looking at the occupations we choose, the directions we choose in life. How am I adding value? I think as a society, specifically as a society, we're too focused on, if you go to varsity, about getting your next job. And then fundamentally, you are answering somebody else's question. Somebody else had a question, how do I answer this? And then you go in and say, he already has the solution. He just needs people who will fill in the gaps and say, and you are there just fundamentally helping him answer. Yeah. So fundamentally, one of the reasons I came back and I specifically chose to teach at Tivet College was I want to try and inspire. Because my thinking was they have nobody to relate to, right? There's nobody who can say, if you do this, you can then do this. Because fundamentally, what happens is we all get our jobs and we leave. We go somewhere and we go work in Joburg and we come back every other weekend. We come back with that fancy kind. Everybody's very excited to see, but nobody really knows how you did it, right? And nobody's really laying out strategy. You can do this, you can do this, and then you can, go on and prosper. So fundamentally, I think as I mature, I think that's the advice I'd give to a 20-year-old. Look for the gaps and then go on. Then in your final year, probably what I would say, your job isn't everything. In your final year, that's the one thing I'll tell you, getting a job is not everything. The most fundamental thing you need to identify, what adds value to your life, right? For me, it was my family. So then I went back. Whatever it is, a value, however you perceive success, and then go to that, go in that direction. And nobody else should tell you, in order for you to be successful, this is what you need to do. In your final year, I'll tell you to define your success. If omunye success yake is going to Harvard and getting an MBA, praise God, go and do it. If your success is your family, go do what you need to do to be with your family. So define your success. I think as you grow up, that's the advice I would give. Yeah, I think that's it.
Sure, that's everybody. I like the part of don't let people define your success.
Yeah.
Because it also imposes certain expectations that are not from you. It's like you're continuously trying to live outside yourself because you're trying to reach a particular level that people have set for you, when it is not you who has actually decided on that. So I actually like that.
It's a very sad way of living because you never actually reach the goal.
The goalposts are always changing.
You're always chasing something, and the person that you're chasing most likely is very content in where he is in life. He is happy, he's doing what he wants, and you're the only one that's frustrated between the two. And the scary thing is you'll even surpass that person, you still won't be happy because you went after chasing somebody and not really chasing your own fulfillment. Yeah. Right. So I think those are one of the things I have learned. One of the things I'm continuing to do in my life. I would say I'm chasing my growth. That's the way I look at it now. I am chasing my growth, and I dictate the pace, and I dictate the outcome. No external force is going to come and tell me, Uguti, I should be there by this age. As one grows up,
the Google
you
template.
realize, Uguti, huh?
It's like the Google template that's got you at 25 and 30, 35 and 40 and all those things.
Things change. And what I've realized, Uguti, as I grow up, I need to start. When I spoke about generationally, every 3 generations. So if I start thinking in terms of generations, in terms of 10 years, in terms of 30 years, I'm able to do a lot more growth than I am if I start thinking of the next week. How come I'm not doing this yesterday? Or the growth even limited, because if it does happen, it's a weed. Well, a weed does shoot up but doesn't go beyond a certain point.
Exactly.
So the more I think generationally, the more I think in terms of my decades, is the more I'm able to master myself and grow.
Speaking in terms of decade thinking, if you can put it that way, the last one that we're going to be looking at today is around key skills that you feel. I suppose we've already spoken to the idea of a young person still, but if you've got something more, perhaps, what key skills a young person can cultivate for, say, the next decade, regardless of the space that they may, we can pick a certain space that you want to touch
on. Okay, I'm thinking about that now. And I think one of the things I learned after I went through varsity was one of the things we learned from varsity is the skill of learning. I think that is the most important thing ever. We must never get to a point where we say you are not learning, regardless of what it is. Learn something and then seek to master it. Right? It's not, because it would be very risky for me to say, no, go and learn how to program and all of that. It's almost as if I'm giving you a formula that's saying that it will work. But that's not really the thinking that I want. I want the capacity to learn. Once I identify the issue, whatever the issue may be, wherever it may be, I need to be able to learn how to go and answer that. If you look at Elon Musk, they don't have the necessary qualifications to do what they're doing. But what they had was the capacity to learn, right? And I think it's that, and it's discipline. I'm very yasaba to speak of specific things.
No, that's perfectly fine.
It's when I'm going back to the question about the principles, I'm very terrified of speaking with him. When I say these are my principles and all of that, and these are the skills that are necessary, it almost boxes one in. Yeah. So when I spoke about relationship, it's not really when you say a principle, it's not really I prioritize this and that and that and that. But it's understanding of the internal motivation. When it comes to skills, Nakon, it is a similar thing. Learn to master yourself. Learn to be. Learn to. How do you learn to desire? Learn to desire. Because sometimes I had this problem when I just finished my qualification. I bought a car, then I was very content. I had nothing driving. I was very happy. I had my car, and everything was just okay. When I was driving around, people were, hey, this guy is living the life. I was okay with life. But now I have to learn to desire. Just have that craving. I need to get to the next level. Right? So in terms of skills, I would say it's discipline, learn to desire, and then I would also say, what was the first thing I said, Bong? Yeah, the first thing I said as well.
Okay. I know of all the people that, I suppose, not to the same degree anyway, that you are speaking to it, but the one of learning to desire, for me, I think, that knocks me out. Because like you say, indeed, we get to that point where that dreaming is like it ends, say, at a particular point, and you don't continuously work on it to a point where once you get to that end point, now it's like, okay, no, I've achieved what I've been planning for all this time. So it just becomes like, as you say, that relaxing, okay, now I've made it type of a vibe. So I think I really like that. I really, really like that.
One of the enemies of success is success. That is very, very true. Your next level is really being hindered by your current success and how content you are with it. So it's sad that the very same thing that makes you happy is also the very same thing that's making you not happy.
It's got two parts, that one. It's success, which is celebrated, yes, but it also imposes a certain change in behavior, a certain form of expectations that it then builds on. And then if you don't, of course, live up to it, it then hits you now. It becomes that very much enemy that you're speaking of. Yes, yes. No, man, thank you, Baz. We truly appreciate your time here, and please do send our greetings to your wife there. And I'm not sure whether the family will remember, but you can even greet mom and dad there. It says Yabulisa Ubabe.
I will. I will send the regards, Brick.
Cool, cool.
I want to comment, but are we done recording now?